Oh, hi everybody. Oh man, it's rather late out. Damn. Really wish I could get to sleep. I really just can't though. Never really could. I've always been more of a nighttime person myself, but name music by the way. But since I'm here, since I'm just kind of chilling, just passing the time, how about I do something that I always do? Let's talk about Star Trek. Yeah. And I'm just going to rip the band-aid right off and just talk about Discovery, because man, people have opinions about Discovery. Like you have it on both sides. You have lots of people that love it, and I think I'm not sure if people who hate it is quite as much, but they are very much louder. I don't know what the size of the hater group is, but damn, they are loud. They will not shut up. By the way, like, no matter what I say, I'm going to end up pissing a bunch of people off. Like, oh, Discovery's trash. Oh, Discovery's great. Either way, it's like, might as well not even bother pandering to anybody, just be honest. And I think it's okay. Like, I have a very neutral opinion about it. Like, I enjoy it enough to be looking forward to Season 3, but I'm not, like, excited about it, which kind of sucks, because I am excited for the next season of Picard and all the other shows coming out. But Discovery is just whatever right now. But let's talk about one thing I actually really liked about Discovery, at least the first season, because the first season gets a lot of flack. People are like, oh no, Season 2 was so much better, but there is one really awesome thing in the first season that we are severely lacking, and that is Captain Lorca. So let's talk about Lorca and how he is a huge wasted opportunity. At least if you ask me. But anyway, Lorca as Captain is very interesting if you think about it, because he's so different than all the captains we've had before. Like, I'd say all the other captains, to an extent, represent what's, like, how Starfleet likes to present itself. Like, you have adventurer, like, you have, like, even the more adventure-y or violent, even captains still have, like, they're still, like, respectable. They're still distinguished. They're very, like, even if they're usually informal, they can dress up nice and be very formal. They can, like, they do play the diplomat parts, and they generally play them very well. With, like, captains like Picard and Janeway are especially good diplomats. Of course, you got Sisko and Kirk. I mean, they can also get it done. That's probably not what you think about them for, but they can also get it done too. But here we have Lorca, who is very much, like, a war. He's very much like the guy you want in a war. He's very unforgiving. He is very stern. He's very, like, he's morally gray, much more so than the other captains were, and that's saying something, considering all the shit that Sisko did with trying to get the Romulans into the Dominion War, or how he handled the Maquis situation, or how Janeway has some pretty morally gray moments too. And so does like Archer to an extent during the Xindi War. He had some pretty low points there too. But that's the point. Like, even if they do have these low points, they're not at the forefront of their characters. At the very least, they don't last all that long. Like, Archer had like this season-long character arc during the Xindi War about him like really just losing what made him Starfleet, or what Starfleet means to him. I think something like that. It's been a long time, but he definitely had a very dark point. Became a much more morally great character, but that wasn't a permanent change. By season 4, it was more or less back to normal for him. Except now he's on better adventures than he was in the first 2 seasons. But with Lorca, Lorca's like, no, we're cutting the shit. We're not being so about it. Like, he is a fucked up dude, and he does some fucked up things, but we're in a war, and we're up against the Klingons who, I'm not a big fan of the Klingon redesign, but one thing that they got going for them is they are way more intimidating than the Klingons ever were before. Like, they are super intimidating, they are super tough, and, are you really going to say no to a guy like Lorca, who has demonstrated that he can get things done? And that's why Starfleet allows him to do some really out there shit. Because they know Lorca is the guy who will get things done, even if it's not always the morally correct way. And of course, one complaint that that's a good amount of fans have with the newer Trek shows is that, oh, they're too dark. They're too dark. I'm like, dude, a big part of what makes Star Trek great, is the variety of each show. Like, I love that each show is so different from one another. Like, we have the darkness of the Picard show, which is basically a 10-hour-long Tarantino movie. And it's going to be, we have a Nickelodeon show coming up, and they're going to be like coexisting in the same space. I like, as much as I don't like kids cartoons or Nickelodeon stuff, as much as the Nickelodeon show probably won't appeal to me, I might not even like it. I am very glad that both of these shows can coexist together. That these two different audiences can both have their shows. I think that's fantastic. But anyway, I'm going off tangent. That's beside the point. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Lorca. And man, I really do not like the twist they have. Like, oh, he was evil all along. Like, no, that takes away what makes him an interesting character. Because what makes him interesting, at least what I thought they were going with Lorca when I first saw the first half of the season, was I thought he was this guy he's been through a lot of shit and he's been very damaged through it. We see like psychological effects in him. Like, he is very clearly like so distressing of everyone that he hides a blast, like he has like a phaser or something in his bed. And I'm like, fuck, man, that is so much darker than any other Trek show really would have gone into. Like, that's part of what makes Lorca very unique, and like, oh wow, this opens a lot of story opportunities with this type of captain, because we never had this before. Like, for example, there are really two only main, like, overarching characters you really could have gone with him, and those are A, we could have had a scenario where, he would become a scenario where he would bond with his crew a lot and like eventually learn the error of his ways. Maybe he would have to like go and deal with another issue first. Like, maybe he'd be tested, like being tempted to do the bad thing that will get the results quicker or to get the arguably better results. But he has to do something really bad to do it, and then decide, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be Starfleet. I'm going to be something better. We could have had that. Or, and this is what I think is even more interesting in my opinion, what we could have done is we could have had a situation where Lorca would decide to do something that was very bad, but would ultimately serve the Federation a lot, and it would take, what's her face again? I'm blanking. Michael Burnham would stand up and commit mutiny once again, only this time they're not completely wasting it by getting rid of all the effects of her actually doing that. Here's like, no, like she would like take a stand against Lorca. Like she would have be forced to mutiny in order to do the greater good. And that could lead to like a big conflict in the ship, maybe result in a big conflict between the members of Starfleet later on. Like, it could escalate into all sorts of different things. Like, that's the sort of story opportunities we have with Lorca. We don't really get that with any other captain. We don't have those opportunities at all with them, really. Like, at most, we'll have like something like that for like an episode, but then it just gets swept up in the rug. So maybe this will make more sense if I give like an example of what I'm talking about. Like, let's take the classic Next Generation episode Iborg, where, it's the episode where Hugh is introduced. It's the episode where, the Borg gets captured by the Enterprise. I'm trying to remember. I think he was rescued. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it, though I do remember most of it pretty well. He gets rescued by the Enterprise, and Picard has to decide. And Picard comes up. Someone comes up with this thing was like this virus where if he gets sent back, he'll destroy all the Borg. And Picard has to decide. Picard, everyone can see that Hugh is becoming more individual. He's becoming significantly less Borgish than he was before, and it's up for Picard to decide. Hey, are we going to sacrifice this new life, assuming it is new life, in order to wipe out our enemy, the Borg? Or do we have to give the Borg, or have to show mercy to the Borg by showing mercy to this person who's just now becoming an individual again. You know, I mean, it's a big moral dilemma, and Picard ultimately decides not to do it. He's like, no, you as an individual, you cannot just send them to the Borg just to kill them all. That would be the wrong thing to do. But thing is, like, let's insert the Discovery crew into this exact scenario. Let's say Lorca was in Captain Picard's shoes. Do you really think Lorca would hesitate to send him back and just wipe out all the fucking Borg? No, I do not believe he would. And now let's say this is the point where Michael would have to stand up. Like, that would be a big moral internal conflict. I feel like that's something that the newer Treks are kind of lacking. Like, these intriguing moral conflicts. Like, we had a little bit of that with Picard with the whole, like, oh, are androids really human thing, or are they really alive thing? But that very much plays into the overarching plot, and it very much is just... It's mostly told kind of one-sidedly. I feel like stories like that are always told one-sidedly for the most part. It's either you firmly believe that they are humans, or that they are people, or that they are machines. You know, like, there's not like a more... Like, a lot of people who tackle this topic don't go for more neutral ground. So it's kind of black and white. But even that's the closest thing we really got in the newer Treks to, like, significant moral dilemmas. And this would be a nice way to introduce that into it, because that's part of my favorite part of Star Trek. Like, episodes like Measure of a Man, or What Makes Star Trek, you know, those are some of the best episodes. The ones that really, like, question you, like, really makes you think of all the different things, like, because philosophy is interesting and shit. That's part of what makes Star Trek stand out from other shows, like, you know, like, people like to associate with, like, Star Wars and Doctor Who and stuff like that, but they don't always dive into the philosophy as much as Star Trek does. Like, they're not as embracing of that, especially not modern day Star Wars. They're super non-embracing of, like, philosophy or deep thought of any kind, really. But Star Trek is different. Like, Star Trek always has, and I think Star Trek should have more episodes like that, where we have these complex moral dilemmas, where it really depends how you look at things, and there really isn't an easy answer. Like, it has to be bold. That's kind of that's one of the things I like about Picard. Picard is a very bold show, whether you like it or not. Like, it has like an idea in mind. It knows not everyone's gonna like it, but it's like, hey, we know people who are gonna like this will fucking love it, and let's just go hard and make that audience as happy as we can. It's a bold choice to make, but hey, much better than playing it safe and giving us the same old shit, if you ask me. And that's kind of what I was hoping for with Lorca. Like, when I first saw Discovery, Lorca felt like a breath of fresh air. I'm like, it's not the same old chick. Because with Archer, for the first 2 seasons of Enterprise, he very much felt like the generic Starfleet guy. It wasn't until seasons 3 and 4 where he really, like, matured, developed, and got interesting. And when I saw Lorca and how he acted and how different he was from all these other captains, like, oh wow, this is the captain to really bring Star Trek in a brave new direction. Nope. He lasts like half the season, and then he's like, haha, I'm evil now. Oh wait, I was always evil. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. That's not at all what Jason Isaacs sounds like. The fuck is wrong with me? That's another thing of Lorca. Jason Isaacs is great. Nothing against Anson Mount. I mean, he's a great Pike, but man, Jason Isaacs, I would, like, if they came up with some bullshit explanation for how Prime Lorca could still be alive, I'd be down to watch his show. You know, nothing against Pike. He's great. His casting is great. His crew, from what we've seen so far, is also really good. Strange Worlds is probably gonna be fine at worst, but man, like, I really, like, grew attached to Lorca. And do it, hey, if they wanted to have a Prime Lorca show, they wanted to bring him back somehow, that'd be a decent way of having their cake and eating it too, because then, you know, we would basically have Lorca back, because the experiences in the Mirror Universe would probably fucking traumatize him. Like, a captain like Lorca presents a lot of opportunities that the other captains just really didn't have. Like, it makes him really stand out so unique. I know, like, people will probably, like, counter this, be like, oh, what about Rios from Picard? He's, like, a much darker captain. And Well, to an extent, I see where you're coming from, because he is a much darker captain. He is, like, a very depressed, just broken sort of captain, and very unique stories can be told with him. Hell, like, we're getting a story told that we would never see another captain have when Picard, but that's the thing, like, he is a very different beast than Lorca is. Like, well, but, like, Rios is just sad and depressed and broken. Lorca's fucking crazy. Also, another thing is the power dynamic between Rios as captain is just very different than any other show, because, while Rios is technically the captain, Picard is still very much the one in charge, so it's not exactly an easy comparison to make. But I do see where you're coming from, though. Though with that being said, there has been some good to come out of Lorca leaving. With him with the twist happening, that's how we got introduced. That's how we got introduced to Emperor Georgiou, who was one of the better characters of season 2 of Discovery. And hell, like, assume, like, Pike might not even be there if Lorca was still around, or at very least, if he was, he would not be there at as much capacity. He would not have the reins to take control of the ship, or to have nearly as much screen time as he does. So at least good has come from their decisions, from Lorca's just being gone. But really, like, just thinking about all this, like, I don't know, I guess the reason why this is, like, just going through my head, like, why I feel the need to just ramble on about this, is I'm a little worried about Discovery Season 3. Like, not that I think that the people who are working on it are all that bad. I really don't. But the thing is, like, a lot of their better characters are either getting killed off or just flat out leaving. They're all leaving the show one way or the other. Like, most of them are getting spin-off shows. Like, the previously mentioned Georgiou and Pike are both getting their spin-off shows. They're going to be Section 31 in Strange New Worlds. I'm like, what does that mean for Discovery? I mean, they're like the best characters in Discovery, and they're just going to be gone. I'm like, wow, that kind of sucks. I mean, I imagine they're probably not going to be completely gone. I mean, Michael still very much has, like, personal ties to both Spock and Georgiou, so we'll probably get some scenes of both of them throughout the show. But damn, like, that really hurt Discovery, and I feel like that might potentially hurt the franchise as a whole. Not because, I mean, I know, like, okay, there's now shows come out, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's more than just that. Like, it feels like all these shows need to be supplementary viewing for one another, or at least they might. I'm like, I kind of don't want that between the shows. Like, I kind of want each show to be able to stand on its own. Like, that's part of what I love about Star Trek. Like, each show is unique in its own way. Okay, Voyager is kind of like Diet Next Generation, but even then it's different enough. Like, it stands on its own. It's not, well, the shows do connect. They're not, like, tied together. I like that each show can be very different from one another. Like, a lot of people like will point to some of the greatest things about Star Trek and be like, oh, it's so great because it has so much diversity, which, it always had. It's always been very good. And I like that it's always been very diverse. It kind of makes it more realistic. I mean, it'd be kind of weird a bunch of white people just going on space, if you ask me. But there's even more than that. Like, it's more than just diversity of skin tones or whatever. It's also diversity in its content. Like, it's like diversity on top of diversity. Like, diversity squared, almost. I don't know. I'm probably explaining it poorly. I'm sorry about that. I do explain things very poorly. Also, so I apologize again. But still, like, that's part of what makes Star Trek, like, this so rich as a franchise to me. That we have all these different stories, all these different characters. That doesn't just feel like the same shit shoveled over and over again. I don't know, like, I'm just rambling at this point. I'm just going off in all sorts of directions. But, I mean, long story short, I loved Lorca before the twist. Still love Jason Isaacs' performance as Lorca. He's still great. Still love Star Trek. Still have, like, I'm still generically optimistic about what's to come. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm sure a lot of it's going to be good. And those are kind of my final notes on the subject, almost. I don't know. Oh, one thing. I really don't know if I'm going to do any more of these. It really depends on, like, how people react to this, how the Star Trek community specifically reacts to this. But, I have a quick question for you. On the odd chance this is the last or only Star Trek video I make, I do want to pose a question to the Star Trek community. To all of you, even. Doesn't matter your opinions or allegiances or whatever. Like, this is the Vulcan salute. And what the Vulcan salute is basically just a peace sign, almost. That's basically what this is. But if this is the Vulcan peace sign, then is this the Vulcan middle finger? Food for thought. Anyway, name's been Nick. As I think I said already. Oh, whatever. Have a good night or a good whatever it is, wherever you are. And I'm just playing this microphone now. I think I'll do that for a couple hours. Bye.